Welcome to Lynn Cullen Live at pghcitypaper.com. Email your questions and comments to Lynn at pghcitypaper.com.
Well, hello there and welcome. What a gorgeous Monday. It is June 4th. Actually, that's my wedding anniversary. Let's see. I would have been married. My gosh. Oh my gosh. I would have been married. This would be my 40th anniversary. I was married in 72, right? So that'd be my 40th anniversary. Wow. Tell you, the congratulations would be coming in about what a great match I made, how wonderful. 40 years together. Nope. It didn't happen. It didn't happen. Well, whatever. He's a good man. I lift my glass to him and hope he's doing well. So I happened to catch this fall de-roll going on around, speaking of anniversaries, around the Queen's Diamond Jubilee over there on the rainy Thames in London yesterday. Do you know what is amazing to me is her husband, Prince Philip? He apparently is going to be 91 years old in next month, I believe. Did you see him? He's ramrod straight. He looks damn good. I mean, he's a good-looking man. There's not a stoop in his shoulder. And he and she stood, even though there were two, like, thrones for them to sit on, stood ramrod straight throughout these hour-long parade of every manner of watercraft one can imagine. Now, everything I know about Prince Philip is that, well, it does not make me like the man, but gee whiz. I'm always talking about how my mother astounds me. She'll be 90 in a few months. So he's a year ahead of her. And you look at some of these people now who are that age and look so damn good and are doing so well and still have their heads about them and are physical. Man, they're lucky. They be lucky. Poor Prince Charles, man, he ain't going to get to the throne till his mom's going to live to be, her mom lived to be 102 or 4 or something like that. She looks like she's good for another 15, 20 years. Prince Charles will be 100 when he ascends to the throne. There's a problem there, I think. I mean, if you're into royalty and all that kind of stuff, which I really am not. Okay, what else we got going here? That was one just, ooh. Here's a little scientific tidbit I came across, which astonished me. Nothing, why should anything astonish anymore when it comes to science? But there's a device that can scan the palm of your hand. And simply by operating a laser light over your palm, it can be determined immediately how many vegetables you've eaten in the last 12 hours. You know, you can, I mean, if people like, you know, if the sort of food police start really ratcheting things up, you can see where this could go. Absolutely. Used to be you would need a blood test to be able to tell how many kinds of, nutrients are in your blood, which would determine maybe that you had ingested some veggies. But these sensors pick up the vibrational energy of carotenoids, or fruit and vegetable pigment, in the skin. I don't know why. Why would you need something? What would be the purpose of something like that, other than I mean, you can always say to somebody, "Did you have any fruit or vegetables in the last 12 hours?" I guess people self-reporting are suspect because it's like when the dentist says, "Now, do you floss regularly?" "Oh yeah, oh yeah." Do you brush the? Oh yeah, oh yeah. When they can tell you're lying, and so my guess is nothing. I still don't understand what it would be used for. Here's another little fact that came upon in the Wall Street Journal today. The most popular singer in Iran is an Israeli. What are the odds of that? That is so unbelievable. Her name is Rita. She was born in Iran, but her parents wisely got her the hell out of there when she was a child and settled in Israel. They were Persian Jews. And she is wildly popular in Israel, considered the most famous female singer in Israel. But her latest album is all in Persian, and apparently Iranians are risking, their lives to download this album. She is just wildly popular. There are underground parties in Tehran, blah, blah, blah. But it's just so strange since you look at the government of Iran and how it feels about Israel and how it feels about Iran, and the two of them wishing each other nothing but ill will. And yet the people of the country, they love the same singer, and the Iranians love this Israeli singer. Odd. Here's another little note. I don't know if you have had it noted by anybody. For the first time in American history, both men running for the presidency never served in the military. This is the first time. In every other presidential election, at least one candidate has been a veteran. This is the first time neither has. It's not surprising. And I would guess that from here on out, it wouldn't be surprising if this continues to be the case, since we have, as you know, this all-volunteer army, which means that 99% of Americans have absolutely nothing to do with that kind of service. So clearly, the odds of a candidate having been a veteran are falling precipitously. And what I can't help but note is when there is a veteran who runs, it doesn't seem to do them any good if they're a veteran. The last election in which somebody's veteran qualities sort of were put out there as a reason that he was potentially a very good man was in the Democratic primary a few months back for Attorney General of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. And you had the lovely woman, Kathleen Kane, I believe her name was, running against a gentleman named Murphy, who had been in the House of Representatives, who had served in Iraq. And as far as I can tell, his service, it just doesn't matter anymore to people. Maybe it matters to other veterans, but it doesn't seem to have. John Kerry didn't help him. Matter of fact, that's how they went after him with the swift boating. Whatever that's worth. Speaking of elections, and this is, let me just put my mic up a little bit. I just so love, is that yours? I don't want to blast. Yeah, there it is. Speaking of elections, tomorrow's the big Wisconsin recall, and people are nervous wrecks. I happened to hear on MSNBC this morning that apparently both camps, the Walker camp and the Barrett camp, are lining up attorneys because the fear is the vote will be so tight that the loser will absolutely demand a recount. And so they're lining up the kind of attorneys who specialize in that. I sure as heck hope it doesn't go that way. The latest polls are showing, just neck and neck, look like it'll be a squeaker. The polls are probably pretty right because there are next to no undecideds. I mean, that state has been, every reporter who goes there and reports on it says if this is the future of American politics, and it looks like it is, we're heading into some pretty unpleasant territory where neighbors don't speak to neighbors, where families are broken up by who you back politically. It's that bad. Now, I saw that happen during the Vietnam War. I suppose it happened to a little extent I saw some of that over Hillary and Barack in that primary. But in Wisconsin, it is so ugly. The Wall Street Journal did a report today on what has happened to Wisconsin. It's so sad, too. It's my home state. I love that state. It's a politically fascinating state. Always has been. But the extremes have always been there. Wisconsin gave the country Senator Joe McCarthy. I know, you can thank us later. And Wisconsin gave the country the progressive tradition of the Fighting La Follettes, and gave the country incredibly progressive legislation, which was then copied in other legislatures and even at the federal level for decades. Wisconsin elected socialists to the legislature well into the 50s. The mayors of Milwaukee were traditionally socialists. So it wasn't an ugly word there. And yet that same state gave us Senator Joe McCarthy. It's an odd state. But the Wall Street Journal points out that it is neighbor against neighbor, that friendships have been destroyed. There was one case of a woman who actually drove the car over her husband as he kept trying to prevent her from going to the polls because he knew that she was going to vote against Governor Walker. And she ran him over. I mean, he lived, but she ran him over. So I don't understand the voters there. And when it comes to presidential politics, Wisconsin has gone with the Democrats for a long, long time. Went big for Obama, went for Kerry, went for Gore. Has definitely done that. But at the same time, they keep electing Republicans as governors and Republican legislatures. Here's some quotes. I'm sorry, I was just reading a text from my son, a very upsetting text, actually. Oh, God, I'll tell you, kids. Okay, listen to this. Carol Zorin, a 73-year-old Democrat in Sheboygan, has a bumper sticker on her car that says, "Vote Republican values, debt, corruption, and invented wars." So a few weeks ago, she was getting out of her car, and a man started screaming at her in a parking lot. And she said, she reported that he said, "I'm a veteran. I didn't fight for people like you." And she said, "I told him to buzz off." This you hear and see everywhere in the state right now. It's open warfare. My mom was a little nervous about putting out her yard sign because she lives in a very Republican area, and her yard sign was not for the Republican. And she put it up and then noted that the man across the street put up an opposing one. She's also nervous because that's the man who has the key to her house. And has always been very nice and said if she ever needed help, since she lives alone, he'd be there. And if the ambulance was ever called, he'd let him in if she couldn't get there. And now she's worried that he won't let him in. Or she says, he's been very cool to me. So there you have it. A recent poll showed that over 30% of people in Wisconsin said that they had stopped speaking to somebody because of politics in the last month, that friendships had been lost. Here's another one. John Plessett's 65 years old, retired small business owner, bumped into a high school friend at the Charcoal Inn a few months ago. They sat together over eggs and sausages and toast until politics came up. Mr. Plessetz is a Tea Party conservative. His old pal, turns out, is a union member. The old pal left the table in a huff. They haven't spoken since. Plessetz says, I don't suppose we ever will. This isn't how politics is supposed to be. And one of the reasons I want Walker gone is that his ascension as governor brought with it this dissension. People maybe weren't, they had political arguments, but people were speaking to each other. People were civil. They're not. And now this is all I read about the state that I love. Here's another woman reporting a relative stormed out of her 8th grade daughter's concert after an argument over politics. And now she's worrying about going to this Milwaukee Brewers game she's supposed to attend with her son and his staunchly Republican wife on Friday. Hey, that's the game we won. The Pirates won that game. Yee-haw! And she said, my son told me, Mom, just don't talk politics. And she said right back, fine, but she can't either. This is the way it goes. And I couldn't help but notice that, because I watched the Pirates Brewers game Friday night. Great game. We took that series 2-3. First time we've done that in a long time in Milwaukee. And we're in second place. Have you noticed? Hello? The St. Louis Cardinals are beneath us. Have you noticed? We're in second place. Yeah. And we're above 500. Yeah. So I couldn't help but note that there were signs all over that stadium that said, vote. I think it said votebrewers.com. But this is a state now that is so obsessed with elections and voting that even the Brewers have gotten on the bandwagon and saying, okay, guys, I know you're voting this way, you're voting that way, everybody's mad at everybody. How about vote Brewers? They've decided to turn it clearly into some kind of a marketing device. And who can blame them? You got to, I guess, attempt to make chicken soup. Is that what is that phrase? Make I forget that. I forget the phrase. And not going to get any help either. All right, obituary of the day. Dick Beals. I didn't hear him either, but you knew his voice. He was the voice behind. Okay, this'll date you. Speedy Alka-Seltzer. Plop, plop, fizz, fizz. Oh, what a relief it is. Do you remember that? He was also the first voice of Gumby. And he was the first one who sang, oh, I'd love to be an Oscar Mayer wiener. You thought that was a kid? No, it was Dick Beals, who had some kind of physical situation, glandular, in that he never got over 4'6", I believe, and his voice stayed as a child's voice. He died at the age of 85, but when advertisers realized that they could get a child's voice in an adult's body, they preferred having the adult because obviously an adult is easier to work with than a child actor. So he just made hundreds and hundreds of commercials in the 50s, the 60s, and the 70s. He was a Campbell Soup kid. He was the voice of the one of the Addams family. I don't know, whatever he was. Plop Plop Fizz Fizz was his biggie. Dick Beals, 85 years old. And there you have it. So, I think I'll take a break and text my son. And we'll be right back.
More is on the way with Lynn Cullen Live.
Paddle Without Pollution, a nonprofit watershed, stewardship, and education organization, is organizing its second cleanup of Pittsburgh's Three Rivers on Saturday, June 9th. After the cleanup, volunteers will enjoy food and entertainment at Point State Park. Our goal this year is to have 100 canoes and kayaks on the Three Rivers. For more information about Paddle Without Pollution or to register for the cleanup, visit www.paddlewithoutpollution.com.
Go to bergbargains.com for great deals on tickets to the City Theater, Symphony, History Museum, and the Carnegie Museums. Check out this week's big deal featuring 50% off tickets to the Carnegie Science Center. bergbargains.com, Pittsburgh's only online deal site where the deals don't expire. bergbargains.com.
Hey, Billy, want to go to the state fair?
Yeah!
Well, you can't.
Huh?
Well, you see, Billy, when you throw away money on wasted electricity, you throw away everything you could have done with it. But now your parents are becoming energy efficient. They could save hundreds of dollars a year and take you to the fair next year.
I want to go now.
Oh, I know you do. Saving energy saves you money. Learn more at EnergySavers.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Energy and the Ad Council.
Now, it's back to Lynn Cullen Live at pghcitypaper.com.
Okay. Here, speaking of politics and polls, here's an interesting little thing I saw. A recent poll in Florida and a poll in Virginia had Mitt Romney beating Barack Obama. However, that poll, we have a call? Okay. Hello, caller. Hello. Hello, caller. Good morning. Good evening. Good night. For whatever reason. But in these polls where Romney bested Obama, the poll was conducted using landline phones. When a poll is conducted using cell phones in Florida and in Virginia, Obama creams Romney. Okay, we'll see if we can get the caller now. Hello, caller? Hello? Some button ain't pushed somewhere. That's my bet. We can keep trying on our end if you keep trying on yours. So that's that fascinates me. I mean, first of all, it tells you that landline. If you're doing landlines, you're not reaching young people. You're not reaching young voters. So that would skew whatever the result is. And I don't see that polls tell you whether or not they're using reaching people on cell phones as opposed to landlines. And my bet is generally it's landlines. So I guess that's just a caveat that when we hear of these polls, it's sort of like statistics. There's a lot of questions that you need to ask. How was it conducted? How was the question worded? Blah, blah, blah. What was your sample size? Yeah. But that's one that, while I knew would reach a different... We got it again, but no way of getting them on. Okay, we're going to try one more time. I know we're as frustrated as you are. Hello? Hello, hello?
Everything's up.
Everything's up, but there's silence. So, I don't know. I don't know, Carlo. So, that, again, something to keep in mind, bear in mind. And I just hope to hell that all those young people that probably were the ones that they reached on the cell phones, I hope to hell they get themselves out to the polls, because otherwise we got trouble. The global economic situation is certainly not playing out in a way that will benefit Barack Obama, since, voters will hold him responsible for, I guess, Europe going down and the Chinese economy slowing, and you got this global economy, and yet voters are holding their national political leaders to account. There's some things that they can do. Now, Barack Obama's ability to do things have been stymied, obviously, by the recalcitrant Republicans in the House and to a certain extent in the Senate with their misuse of cloture. Oh, well, anyway. I'm changing subjects again, and apologies to the person who's trying to get his or her 2 cents worth in, but there's some kind of a glitch in the system. You know how much I'm fascinated by and sometimes frightened by technology and what it portends for our future as what we recognize as a human race. And there was a piece written by a gentleman who's got a book out that is getting a lot of attention. That book is called Amped, A-M-P-E-D, and I guess it's coming out this week. And the guy's name is Wilson. He's a PhD about something or other. And he talks about what is in the very near future in terms of making our bodies function better than ever, in terms of making our heads work better than ever. And this is through technology, through what are called neural implants. Now, I've been saying for a long time, pretty soon they're just going to be sticking chips in us. That's what's going to happen. And they already are. But as he points out in the article, the people who are getting the benefits of this kind of technology right now are people who desperately need it. They're disabled people. They are, wasn't it just a few weeks ago that you saw that video of a paralyzed person? She's paralyzed from the neck down, can't move a thing, was able to get a robotic arm to bring her a glass with and put it to her mouth, and she was able to drink for the first time of her own volition. She literally sent brain waves. She operated the robot with her mind. And there was another guy, too, who did it. So this is something that they're working on, where simply by willing it and by a little implant, she had a little implant in her brain. So this is the kind of stuff that's happening. Or you look at the prostheses that all of these soldiers coming back from our wars without their limbs are. I was at the airport the other day, and there was one who had one of these amazing new legs on that don't look like the old kind of prosthetic legs. They're full of wires and this and that. He was walking like, I mean, you could, this thing had springs to it. It was amazing. So, neural implants are placed. They drill a teeny little hole in your skull. They stick it in, and it sits right on your brain. It can be as tiny as like a little pill. And it attunes itself to the electrical activity that's going on there in that amazing organ. What those neurons are up to. And they, according to the article, he says, essentially these implants listen to what your brain is up to, and then they can talk, essentially, interact directly with the brain. Hence, the woman being able to think a robotic arm toward her mouth and then drink. So all of this can happen wirelessly. It is, what's amazing too, is how quickly these things, this would be an outpatient procedure. That's how easy this surgery is. You'd go in, you have a little bzz, put it in, and out you go. Now, you've heard of cochlear implants for people who are deaf. That is essentially an implant that takes somebody who's never been able to hear and does then allow them, through this kind of activity, a semblance of hearing. They are already putting in essentially what are called brain pacemakers for people with Parkinson's disease who suffer from, as you've seen with Michael J. Fox, sort of uncontrollable physical jerks and movements. And they can stick a thing in a person's brain that will help, I guess, regulate those kinds of electrical impulses that create that unwanted movement. So what they're saying is it is absolutely a given that, let's say you have a mind that wanders. Like my son. Let's say you have trouble focusing. There'll be an implant for that. They can stick one in and it will allow you to stay focused. Now, when people start getting these things, in other words, if, let's say, they're saying they can make people better than human. They can make somebody with an implant able to focus more than most people can focus. So here's where the ethical issues come in and the quandaries. So while initially they're going to be able to allow maybe stroke victims to walk again, you can just stick one of these things in and reteach the whatever got screwed up, rewire it from the outside in with a neural implant on telling your body how to walk, how to move. But they say you could use this kind of device to make sure you could swing a baseball bat better or swing a tennis racket better. So I guess what they're saying is that, in 10, 20 years, we'll be arguing whether or not, forget steroids, we'll be arguing about whether or not it's fair to have a player who has had a neural implant that allows him, to essentially be more than human, more than normal. So they say this technology clearly is going to be in the next 10, 15 years capable of making us smarter, capable of making us stronger, capable of making us faster. The early adoptees will always be people who desperately need it, people with disabilities. And that will be because they're the people willing to be the guinea pigs, because they're the people who are desperate, because they just want to be able to walk again or function again or speak or swallow or whatever. So they are on the front lines. It is through them that this technology will be perfected. But then once this technology is used to stop seizures, stop tremors, help stroke victims walk, then people are going to start asking, wait a minute, why maybe shouldn't all us old people who are getting a little creaky or our memories are faltering, wouldn't I want something like that? You mean you could stick a little thing in my head and all of a sudden my brain would be working about at the same level it was when I was 30? Or you can retrain this damn leg of mine to, move. Yes, apparently they say that's going to be the case. So we'll have these tens of millions of old farts in my baby boomer generation. And us baby boomers, if there's something that can make us stay younger or better or faster, we want it. And we'll pay for it. And we'll demand it. So this guy who's written AMP says, watch out. On the horizon, what we're going to have is a new class of people who can buy their way into it. The sudden appearance of what he calls super-abled people could put new and unforeseen strains on our society. He says, for example, what happens when mentally sharp, physically capable retirees return to the workforce? They've been essentially revamped. They've gotten an oil change. They've gotten a neural implant here, a neural implant there. They're raring to go. In they come. Back they come. What happens when your kid is the only kid in her class that doesn't have an attention implant? And consequently, her scores just aren't keeping up with all the other kids whose parents have been able to get their children attention implants. Professional sports teams. Why would they not have all their players have neural implants? Should a person have to reveal whether or not they have an implant? Would this produce a new level of what would be considered discrimination against people who either have or don't have implants? So humanity, which, as I said, has been evolving forever, I'm always saying that, now we're evolving at a rate that Charles Darwin could not comprehend. And we're doing it because of technology. And I don't know how we seem to be running away with, it's all running away from us. We're always trying to play catch up in terms of the ethical issues and legal issues and social impacts that occur as a result of technology, and it will only become more so. So the timeline that this guy puts on this is not that far into the future, not at all. 10, 15 years, you're going to start seeing. Well, as we said, we're already seeing it, and the change is coming. It's just, geometrical progression. It just boom, 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 boom. This begets this, begets this, begets that. Amazing. It's a brave new world we're all careening into. And you look at what a mess we've made of the current one, and I don't know. Is there a neural implant for that? Is there a if you could have a neural implant to make better citizens or better people in a soulful sense, in an ethical sense, in a moral sense, I'd be for that. But it doesn't seem like any of these things are about that. That still maybe is beyond our comprehension. We have one more call that we will attempt. Hello. Hello. Goodbye. Hello. I'm sorry. We've got a glitch. You can email me, Oh, I haven't checked my emails. Maybe email me, Lynn at pghcitypaper.com, and maybe get some input that way. I'm sorry. I truly am. Tell you what, we'll take a break, and I shall return.
More is on the way with Lynn Cullen Live.
Pittsburgh City Paper with the Three Rivers Arts Festival pullout is available now. Pick up one today for The Cult, Layla Hathaway, Global Navigators, and Joe Walsh. Pittsburgh City Paper available at over 1,700 locations throughout Western Pennsylvania and on the web at pghcitypaper.com and on your smartphone at citypapermobile.com.
Gustavo and Vella wants to thank all of southwestern Pennsylvania, the USA, and the world for helping to liberate his native country of Equatorial Guinea. Equatorial Guinea has suffered 43 years of dictatorship, 43 years of human rights abuses, 43 years of corruption, and 43 years of kleptocracy. Even with $5 billion in oil revenue in 2011, the 700,000 citizens of Equatorial Guinea earn less than $2 per day. A proud Mount Lebanon resident, please help Gustavo and Vella usher in the 21st century by allowing freedom, democracy, and socioeconomic prosperity by the rule of law for the next 43 years and beyond. Email him at presidentandvella@yahoo.com to help free Equatorial Guinea.
Get Lynn Cullen Live on your smartphone. Go to citypapermobile.com now for Pittsburgh City Paper's brand new mobile app. Get the latest restaurant reviews, event listings, movie times, and of course, Lynn Cullen Live on your smartphone. citypapermobile.com.
Now, it's back to Lynn Cullen Live at pghcitypaper.com.
Okay. Again, apologies for those of you who are trying to call. It's just something's wrong on our end, and we'll have it fixed. But you can email me, Lynn at pghcitypaper, if that's doable for you. Interesting little piece in USA Today about sort of an unintended consequence of us paying attention to gas mileage in our cars and of starting to buy cars that get better mileage. One of the things that then does is that the states take in less revenue from their gas tax. And so, as we all do what we're told and go greener, the state actually suffers in some respects because they rely on gasoline taxes for a hunk of change. By the way, Pennsylvania more than most. There is a chart about what each state has as its gas tax. And ladies and gentlemen, we are paying the most, almost the most. The worst is Washington State. They tack on 37.5 cents a gallon. Pennsylvania tax on 31.2 cents. So every gallon, you're paying 31 plus cents to the state. Now, just as another indicator, Michigan, it's just 19 cents. Massachusetts, 21 cents. 18 cents in California. 23 in Delaware. Understand, we're at 31. We are the fifth highest gas tax in the country. But as we watch how much mileage our cars get, and as we perhaps try to be smart and walk a little more or take public transit, all that means is that the state, which keeps, of course, telling us they have no money, means they will get less money. And states all over the country are starting to freak about that, and of course looking for ways to make up a difference, because though that kind of money is what's used to maintain roads, bridges, and as we know, we're not doing it. So even Pennsylvania, with its huge tax, has one of the biggest problems in terms of maintenance. You go figure that. I don't understand that. We taxpayers here fork over more than most Americans do, which would feed directly into the fund to keep our roads in drivable condition and our bridges standing. And we have more deficient bridges, I think, than most states as well. So states are looking for new ways to do it. And here's what, and I'm just giving you a heads up here. Here's what they've come up with. A lot of states are already looking into this, and they see this as the way to go. What they're going to end up doing is taxing you by how many miles you drive on those roads. The feeling being, if you use the infrastructure more than that guy, then you should pay more for it. If you're schlepping back and forth and spending all your time in your car, then you need to pay more for the upkeep of the roads. So this is being called a what? A VMT tax, Vehicle Miles Traveled tax. And they say that it'll be upon us in 5 to 10 years. And there'll be an initial real pushback, but some state's going to pass it, then another state's going to pass it, and ultimately this is the way it's going to work. A VMT. Not that they'll get rid of the gas tax. No, there'll be the gas tax and the VMT. Minnesota and Oregon already are testing the technology. See, this would require technology on each car that would measure the mileage and then somehow telegraph that to the state. So a big problem that people have with this is based on privacy issues. What do you mean? Now the nanny state's going to know every mile I drive? How many miles? Yeah, apparently they are. So the VMT, Vehicle Miles Traveled Tax. You just remember you heard it here first. All righty. Chuck writes, Lynn, I just wanted to point out that we have had circuit-driven humans on the planet for some time now. Mitt Romney, clear evidence. He does seem a bit robotic. We have noticed that. But if he's a robot, it looks like they didn't quite get it right because he seems so uncomfortable. You know how one of the things they have trouble with robots is making them truly human so that you recognize them as a fellow human. And he gets so mixed up sometimes about how to interact, it seems. But then again, Richard Nixon was like that too. Something I just don't comprehend is how people who are clearly uncomfortable in crowds or with relating to other human beings end up in politics. It's just so odd. Oh, by the way, and speaking of vehicle miles and getting around and infrastructure, USA Today also reports that transit agencies all over the country, like our Port Authority, but actually will let the Port Authority off this one because they aren't going where most people are going. The other buses and city buses and city trains and light rail are seeing big increases in ridership. Big. Indianapolis, way up. Fort Myers, Florida, saw a 17% increase from last year. Charlotte, North Carolina, 10%. Ann Arbor, Michigan, 9%. Boston, 8%. On and on. Dayton up. Ithaca up. Tampa up. Olympia up. San Diego up. As we know, down. We're here. Down. And they say some of these have gone up even though there have been cuts in services. All we know is the cuts in services stuff. Okay, this is from Ronald. I've been trying to call you. We know. He says, there's a program on NPR, yes, called This American Life. I do know that. It's a good program. If you do a Google search, you can find it. They did a program in March that should be, must listening for all Americans. This is specifically the program aired on March 30th. He says in this program he learned that Nancy Pelosi, for instance, attended 400 fundraising events in 2011. Another member of Congress said he has to raise between 10 and 15 thou a day if he's going to be able to make a run for re-election. Dick Durbin said that most people would be surprised what congressmen do to raise money. I don't know. Actually, members of the House, and notice all these are House members. Members of the House, that's pretty much their day job. You think it's representing us? No, it's getting money because they have to run every 2 years. So if you think about that, an election cycle is going to begin. They've got maybe 1 year where you think they've got some breathing room. No, they're already amassing. And given that they'll be an incumbent, they have some power to shake people down more so than they used to. And this also, of course, makes it much harder to be a challenger to an incumbent. Much harder. So I don't know. Money, listen. Money is corrupting our politics. We know that. The Supreme Court just made it easier for money to corrupt our politics with the universally decried ruling in Citizens United, which we're seeing play out in Wisconsin right now, which we're seeing play out in the primary season, which we'll see play out in this presidential campaign. And it's a total corruption of our politics. Total. But, I've been railing about campaign finance reform for 30 years. And things have just gotten worse. It's not a message that's easy to get out there. And since all of the people in the system, the incumbents, have had to play the corrupt game to get where they've gotten and continue to have to play it, none of them ever champion this. Oh, a few do here and then, former senator from Wisconsin. Why am I blanking on his name? Is such a good man, McCain Feingold. He tried. Didn't do him any favors. He refused to take money. Didn't do him any favors. Now did it. He's the former senator from Wisconsin. He has been replaced by a corporatist, dimwit, nincompoop businessman who had lots of money and lots of moneyed friends. And that's the way our politics is going. And then some, Jane Orey is being sentenced today. This morning, actually, and I just want to see if I'll just do it quickly on my Twitter account to see if that has come down, because that would be of some interest to us. I want to see if anybody's posted it. No, it hasn't happened yet. Hasn't happened yet. Although the Post-Gazette is reporting, what? Allegheny County transit ridership growing faster than national. What? So maybe we did belong on this list? What? How are? I thought our ridership was down. Breaking news? No. It does say here that Jerry Sandusky's alleged victims, have lost a court bid to stay anonymous. That's... I don't understand that. Victims of rape, especially child victims of rape, will not be anonymous in this trial. That's... If that does not have a deterrent effect on people coming forward to testify, I can't imagine what would. So apparently the Ori sentence hasn't come down yet, because I assure you it will be tweeted immediately. Oh, and then this little item, which I got a kick out of, because, you know, the French really turn their noses up at all things American, especially our food and the way we eat and the manner in which we eat. And there's a front page piece in the New York Times that the latest rage in Paris among the young is American eating. And not only that, hamburgers and fries, and on top of that, they're eating from food trucks that Americans are running and parking on the streets in Paris. There's one truck that opens at 7 p.m. They are standing in line at 5:30 to get the hamburger coming on. And I guess these are pretty extraordinary hamburgers. It says also, like a hamburger and fries from the truck cost about $13. They say the greatest praise that young Parisians can give for food right now is that it is très Brooklyn. Jeez. Oh, the French oldsters are spinning in their graves. Nothing more magnifique than if something tastes like Brooklyn. And it's generally believed, that the French, good God, would never eat on the street. They would never eat with their hands. They would never pay good money for food that came out of a truck. Well, they are. And as I said, they're standing in line for it. They are paying as much as $36 for hamburgers. And there are American chefs now who are gracing some of the most popular French restaurants. Although they say that in these restaurants, when the French order a burger, they often eat it with a knife and a fork. Please. But just remember that, Trey Brooklyn. There's one truck that's selling tacos that are a rarity in France, and the French are loving them. And then there's a lot of burger trucks. So there you have it, American food on the Champs-Élysées. American food being scarfed up by the French. Don't you love it? Okay, well, I'll tell you what. I think that's... I'm sorry, I'm keep rattling papers at you. I think that does it for me. Thank you for being there, if in fact that is the case. And tell you what, I'll be back tomorrow. My sister will join us from St. Louis, and we'll be wringing our hands over the election that will be going on as we speak in America's Dairyland. Okay. That's it. Have a wonderful, enjoy this weather. I'm loving it. Toodaloo.
Lynn Cullen Live, Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and archived at pghcitypaper.com. The opinions expressed on Lynn Cullen Live are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints of Pittsburgh City Paper, Steel City Media, and its advertisers.